Hey everybody, it's Tmika with Scrap the World, and I am here with another Scrapbook Pal video. Today I'm working with the new Courageous You stamp set by Altenew. There's also a coordinating die that I will show you as well. I made two simple, elegant cards using a variety of techniques. So let me show you the items that I used that you can get from Scrapbook Pal and also how to make these lovely cards. Let's get started. So here's the new Altenew Courageous You stamp set. Comes with one large gorgeous flower and leaf with lots of sentiments. There's also the coordinating Courageous You die. I will also be using the Honeybee Stamps Hexagon top layer die. I will be using the Gold Hearted Craft Perfect Mix card pack. Beautiful colors in this card pack. My Easy Runner Grand to adhere it all together. Also some embossing powder in gold by Fawn. Some zip dry beacon wet glue to adhere some pearls, which I will show you later in the video. Also need some clear embossing ink. I'll be using some white embossing powder. Some type of punch for your sentiment. I'm using a dotted embossing folder, some white cardstock, and a piece of vellum. I'm using 12 by 12. So take your piece of white cardstock, cut it down to 7 by 7. And once you get that, we're going to score that in half using my little tiny little bone folder here. Score it at 3.5. And then this is going to create our card base. I'm using 110-pound white cardstock. So you want to go ahead and fold that over. Make sure you match up your edges really well because everything is going to be lined up precisely, and give it a great crease with your bone folder. Cut down another strip of 110-pound weight cardstock, 1/4 inch smaller to 3.25 by 6 3/4, and add that to the inside of your card base for more stability. I'm grabbing a piece of gold cardstock matching the same dimensions as the front card, which is 3.5 by 7, and I'm adding my Easy Runner Grand to the back of that to adhere it to the front panel of the card. Cut down another piece of cardstock down to 3.25 by 6 3/4 and grab yourself an embossing folder. I'm using a dotted one here to add that to the front panel of the card. So once your paper has been embossed, this is what it should look like. I want to add a little bit of dimension to raise it off the card just a little bit. So I'm going to grab my 3D foam circles and I'm going to add 6 to the back of the card. That way it stays pretty steady throughout the card and there's no bend. So I'm adding 2 at the top, 2 in the middle, and 2 at the bottom. And I always like to peel off the backs and add a little bit of hot glue just before adding it to my card. So that's all complete. I want to make sure it's nice and sturdy, and that's how it looks. Just a little bit of dimension adds a lot to a card. So now I'm going to take my Honeybee Stamps Hexagon top layer, and I'm going to grab one of the gold colored sheets of cardstock from the Craft Perfect pack and die cut that to add a little bit of extra dimension and texture to my card. So that's what that looks like, and I absolutely love it. It almost reminds me a little bit of chicken wire. So once I've die cut it out, I'm going to cut off the border because I don't want that. I just kind of want it freestanding or free floating on the card. So I'm just going to take my scissors and cut off the perimeter of that, and then I'm just going to slice it in diagonal. The best adhesive for this type of thing is using my Xyron sticker maker, and I just love this thing. I scoosh it through there and then I peel off the backs. Super easy, and then I just apply them to the corners of my card at the top and at the bottom, and they looked perfect. After that, I clip off all the unwanted overhanging parts. So now it's time to do some stamping, and I know a lot of you won't like this, but I cut my stamp into 2 parts. It was too large, and I'm usually going to use just this piece or the other piece anyway. Then I grab a couple sentiments from the collection. I dab my stamp with some clear embossing ink, and I go ahead and get ready to emboss it with the Fawn gold embossing powder. When I tell you how gorgeous this looks, it looks gorgeous. I love it. I've done it twice. You need 2 of these per flower. Just look at the shine. I absolutely love it. I went ahead and used Floating Wishes stamp for the second one by Avery, Elle, and I used the word hello. And I'm going to take my scallop circle punch and I'm going to center that on there and use that as my sentiment. It's also serving a double purpose of covering up my pop dots that I'm going to use later to pop up the dimensional flowers that I'm using. Since I'm using 2 layers, vellum is pretty thin, so I had to use 2 layers and I wanted a more fluffy look. So I wanted to make sure I added some dimension to that. So now I'm just going to do a little bit of fussy cutting. I'm actually going to separate the rows from the leaves so that I can separate them on the card as well and it not be one piece. So that's me showing you that there. I'm going to do that for both of those vellum embossed flowers. So now that all the fussy cutting is done, it's time to go ahead and layer these flowers on, and they just look so beautiful to me. So I'm going to add some more of my 3D foam circles to the back. I'm going to add one to the leaf, and I typically like to lay it out first so I can know where I want things to be placed, because as I said earlier, once I put these on, I use a little hot glue. It's hard to peel these off without destroying some of the layers on the top of your project. So I like to lay it out first to see how everything's going to lay. And then because there's dimension too, I just want to make sure it doesn't look too overcrowded. So once I get the leaves placed where I want to, I'm going to add a couple of them back to the back of the roses. And I'm kind of trying to center it in the middle so that when I put my sentiment, it kind of covers all the pop dots. So I have everything set. I've already gone ahead and added my hot glue to the back of that foam dot to my first leaf. And I kind of wanted them at a diagonal so you guys can see that how I layered them there, kind of cover most of the card with peaks of the embossing folder and stuff peeking out the back. So the leaves are already attached, so now it's just got time to go ahead and attach that first center flower, which I will do now. And then I will take the second center flower, add a little bit of the pop dot, or not a little bit, add pop dot to the back of that as well, and do the same thing. So now it's time to go ahead and take my sentiment. Now this one is from the Avery Elle Floating Wishes stamp set, and I use the word hello. Added my pop dots to the back. I'm going ahead and add my hot glue and cover that up, making sure that I'm covering up the dimensionals underneath. So that is super cute. I'm loving how it looks, nice and fluffy. But the last and final thing that I'm going to add to this card is some droplets. These are clear water droplets, and I'm using my Beacon Zip Dry to adhere. It dries clear. It uses different, you could use different mediums with it. So I wanted to make sure I use a sturdy glue, wet glue that dried clear since the droplets are clear. And I added a little bit, 3 of them. So just to add a little bit of extra to the card in addition to the embossing and stuff. And it just kind of adds another little texture to the card. So I kind of, when I do these 3 little things, I always add one at the left at the top, one at the middle on the right, and then again following up at the bottom, kind of just to complete a virtual triangle, if you will. So that will complete the card, and as you guys can see, it looks so sweet, so elegant, and it was really easy. Lots of different textures, lots of different techniques. Here's the second one I did with the sentiment from the Courageous You collection. That one says, "You are great," with the white embossing powder, and I did the same thing that I did to the one with hello. Very sturdy card. So be sure to check out all the links in the description box below for how you can create this card, as well as the blog where you receive written instructions on how to make one as well. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and be a subscriber of Scrapbook Pal. Talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye.